Today's lesson is going to focus on adding and subtracting signed decimals. I can add and subtract signed decimals using number lines and the rules for adding and subtracting integers. So what I'm going to do is I'll do a few examples using number lines, and then we're going to focus on those rules we've been using. We'll use the exact same rules when we added and subtracted integers, when we added and subtracted signed fractions and mixed numbers, and now we'll use those same rules to add and subtract signed decimals. So let's take a look at this example. So it says negative 0.75 plus a negative 0.5. So you'll notice the number line is broken into quarters, 0.25, 0.5, 0.75. And so what I would do is I would start here and I would go from 0 down to a negative 0.75 as my starting point. If I'm adding a negative, we remember that means we're going to move left. We're going to move left 0.5 units. So that's like 50 cents. So that's 2 quarters or 2 25s. So when I look here, these are broken into quarters. So if I have to move minus 0.5, that's like 50. That's 2 quarters. So I'm going to move 1, 2 to the left. So this final answer is negative 1.25. What I now want to do is the same example but using our rules and show that we come up with the exact same answer. So we're going to look at it without the use of a number line. The first thing we're going to do is rewrite our double signs as a single sign, and then we'll circle the sign that goes with the number. So first of all, we know our double signs are these two signs right here that are touching. We know plus a negative becomes minus. Then we're going to go ahead and circle the sign that goes with the number. And then we say, are those signs the same or are those signs different? Well, that sign's a minus, that sign's a minus. So those signs are the same. If the signs are the same, we'll find the sum or we'll add. And so off to the side, I'm going to go ahead and find the sum or add them up. So this is just my scrap work. I take my 0.75 and I add on my 0.5. You remember with our decimals, it's important we line up those decimal points. So I'll put a 0 as a placeholder there. So 5 plus 0 is 5. 7 plus 5 is 12. Put down a 1. Put down a 2. Carry a 1. And that decimal point comes right down. So that's 1.25 when we find the sum. So the signs were the same. We found the sum. Now our big issue is, what do I have more of? Do I have more positives or do I have more negatives? Well, negative 0.75 and negative 0.5 only have negatives. Therefore, my answer must be negative. Signs are the same. Find the sum. Keep the sign. And you'll notice that's the exact same answer we got when we used our number line. Let's try another one. Find the following sum using a number line model. Okay, because it's negative 0.7 plus 0.2, these are broken into tenths because that's negative 7 tenths plus 2 tenths. So these are broken into tenths to make our lives easier. So first thing I have to go is I have to go to 0.7 to the left of 0. So I got to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's going to be my starting point. I'm adding a positive. If I'm adding a positive, I will move right. How far will I move right? I'll move right 2 tenths. So I'll move right 1, 2 tenths. I'm okay. Where does that end up? Well, that's negative 0.1, negative 0.2, negative 0.3, negative 0.4. That's a negative 0.5. So my final answer there is a negative 0.5 on the number line. Let's do that same example, but now just using our rules. You'll notice at this point, I don't keep the parentheses around the numbers. You can if you want to. But the first thing I need to do is rewrite double signs as a single sign. And I look and I go, oh, there are no double signs, so I'm good to go. I can circle the sign that goes with the number. I then look at those signs. That sign is a negative. That sign is a positive. So I ask myself, are those signs the same or are those signs different? Those signs are different. I'm going to find the difference. So off to the side, I find the difference. I take my 0.7. Again, this is my scrap work, and I subtract off my 0.2. When you do your scrap work and you do this step, signs are different, find the difference, you don't write the signs with them anymore. Off to the side, you just find the difference of the two numbers you're given. So 0.7 minus 0.2, bring down our decimal point. We know when we're adding and subtracting decimals, it's important to line up those decimal points. And 7 minus 2 is 5. So then I look here and I say, okay, that is a 0.5, that difference. But we're not done yet. That's not the final answer. You have to ask yourself, do I have more negatives or do I have more positives? Well, I have negative 7/10, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, negative 7/10. That's a positive 2/10, so I just have 2 of those. If I'm considering the tenths, what am I left with? Oh, I'm left with negative 5/10. I definitely have more negatives. That 0.7 is larger than 0.2. We have more negatives, so your answer is negative. So your final answer is negative 0.5. Exactly the same thing we got as with the number line, but eventually we're going to move away from those number lines because we're going to deal with numbers that it's going to be hard to create crazy number lines. If I'm taking negative 0.72 and I'm adding on 0.32, I'm not going to want to break up a number line into hundredths. It would be silly. So let's just focus on those rules. If you need to draw number lines, draw number lines. So I'm going to do 1.5 plus a negative 2.5. First step, rewrite double signs as single signs. And there we have it. The double sign is a single sign. Plus a negative just becomes a minus. Circle the sign that goes with the number. So I circle the sign that goes with the number. We know if there's no sign in front of the 1.5, we know that's a positive. Then I ask myself, are those signs the same or are those signs different? Well, that's a positive. That's a minus. Positive with a those signs are different. I'm going to find the difference. So off to the side, my scrap work. I remember to line up my decimal points when I am adding and subtracting decimals. So that's 2.5. That's 1.5. You'll notice I don't take the signs that are attached to them for my scrap work. Off to the side, I say, signs are different. I find the difference. So I take the 2.5 is the quote-unquote larger number, and I subtract off 1.5. I've lined up my decimal points. 5 minus 5 is 0. 2 minus 1 is 1. So I know my answer is 1.0 or 1. And now the big question is, are there more positives or are there more negatives? Well, which is larger? Negative 2.5 is definitely larger than 1.5. That's like you're down 250 and then you're going up by 150. You're still down $1. So there was more negative, so you kept that negative. So the final answer is a negative 1. And again, this is just my scrap work to get me there. We're going to add or subtract the following signed rational numbers. So let's go ahead and we could try a few together and then maybe try a few on your own. You pause the video. If you're ready to try them on your own, you try them on your own. So I look at that first one and I say, okay, there are no double signs. I'm going to circle the sign that goes with the number. Those signs are different. That's a negative. That's a positive. I'm going to find the difference. So I'm going to take 1.2 and subtract off 0.8. You'll notice every time I find the difference, I take the quote-unquote larger number and subtract off. So here, I'm like, oh gosh, I can't take 8 from 2. Borrow from that 1. That 1 becomes a 0. That becomes a 12. 12 minus 8 is 4. Keeping my decimal point, 0.4. 0.4. And then I say, what do I have more of? Well, this is definitely the larger number, so I have more positives. If I look here, minus a negative we know becomes plus. So I have 2.75 plus 4.25. I circle the sign that goes with the number. I'm like, oh, those are both positive. Signs are the same. I'm going to find the sum. So off to the side, I find the sum. 4.25. 2.75, lining up my decimal points, add them up. 5 and 5 is 10. 2, 3, and 7 is 10. I keep that decimal point right where it is. Got to keep it lined up. 4 and 1 is 5, 6, 7. Oh, that answer is 7.00 or just 7. What do I have more of? Hey, I only have positive. Signs are the same. Find the sum, keep the sign. Let's try the next one. Again, at any point you can pause the video, try it on your own, and then just check back with me. So we have negative 2.75 minus 4.25. Circle the sign that goes with the number. Those signs are the same. I'm going to find the sum. So off to the side, I would do 4.25. I would add on 2.75. Signs are the same. You're going to go ahead and find the sum. Well, I found that sum right up here, and I know that it's a 7. Then the big question is, what do you have more of? Hey, we only have negatives running around, so that's a negative 7. You lost $2.75. You lost another $4.25. You've lost a total of $7. Again, that's just your scrap work. Last one, circle the sign that goes with the number. Oh, I'm sorry, not yet. Double signs to a single sign plus a negative becomes a minus. So that's 0.8 minus 1.2. No sign in front of that. I know it's a positive. Circle the sign that goes with the number. Are those signs the same or are those signs different? Those signs are different. I'm going to find the difference. So off to the side, I would find the difference. And again, when you're following that step of finding the difference, you don't carry these signs over. You take the larger number, subtract off the smaller number, regardless of these signs. So the signs are different. I find the difference. I'm like, oh, right up here I found that difference. I know it's 0.4. The big question will be, do I have more positives or more negatives? I look here and I say, oh, my larger number in terms of absolute value is a negative. So I keep the negative. So that's today's lesson on adding and subtracting signed rational numbers. Please complete your exit ticket. I'll be around to check them. You may move on to the next video while you're waiting for your exit ticket to be checked.